Hello, dear friends. For there is nothing hidden that will not be made manifest, nor hidden that will not come to light. Mark 4:22. Opinion piece. Everything comes to light. All things will be made known. No stone will be left unturned. Love is the force of the universe. The key is the divine feminine. There is a recession coming this winter. Trust in the soft and gentle voice of yourself. Let's start. What we are seeing now is the Great War, the apocalypse, which is the best defined as the Great Unveiling. All is made known. No stone will be left unturned. All iniquities will be shouted to the four winds, and nothing will be hidden. We will see the world of opposites. Nothing is as it seems. Just look at the controllers. Most are doing the exact opposite of their mandate, according to James Gilliland of SETI News. It will not be an easy time for them, as they will experience the consequences of the personal decisions they made to have it all, without paying attention to the damage these decisions created for other human beings. There is always a price to pay if one does not follow the timely guidance of the infinite spark of the divine that is within each individual, and is always speaking as their inner voice. Had one been aligned and connected with one's source, there would have been a more peaceful, harmonious and graceful pathway through the coming times, says Saint Germain. This is now in process, and it behoves the light workers of the world to raise their frequency level several notches and, at the same time, stay away from any distractions that would push them down another rabbit hole that would lead them back into a looping pattern of mind enslavement on downward path. Be aware and discerning about the stories you are being told during these times by the mainstream media. It is true, no one can be trusted except the soft and gentle voice within during these trying circumstances. It is important to connect with Source at the beginning of each day and regularly throughout the day. This practice will always lead an individual in the right directions in terms of guidance and protection of one's own being. Intermediaries. Most religious institutions use fear, guilt, and unworthiness to suppress the God within and become the intermediary instead of teaching each individual to make his or her own personal connection with God. The environmental movement was hijacked by the same people who destroyed the environment. We can go on and on. This great war has been going on for billions of years, and it is finally coming to a head, and it didn't start on Earth. It started in the heavenly realms, or higher dimensions. Most of this galaxy has been cleansed, but the fallen ones are strongly entrenched in Earth's political, commercial, and religious institutions. What you are witnessing is the dismantling of agencies and institutions that no longer serve the people because they are not operating within universal law. They have become self-serving to the point where they have become an extreme detriment to the very people who created them. We are bordering on the boundary of the religious belief and enlightenment, but enlightenment has to come to religion. The golden threads that bind all humankind together within all religions must have first and foremost priority. We need to unite to deal with what is unfolding. We also need to unite with the great family of humankind, the heavenly realms throughout the multiverse. Do not depend on outside savers, outside institutions, outside information, nothing that divides you or does not enable you to make your own personal connection with the Great Spirit. Awakening. It is time for humankind to awaken and take charge of its multidimensional being. If you are not aware of that, of what is happening in the fields of consciousness and energy around you, you will be influenced and subject to them. Many wake-minded beings have fallen victim to this. Always remember that just because you are dead doesn't mean you are enlightened, and just because you are an ET doesn't mean you are benevolent. It would be naive to think otherwise. Also remember that you are divine. You have the ability to make your personal connection with the Great Spirit. You have the ability to channel all the power of the Creator through the heart in every situation. The ultimate power in the universe is love. The celestial realms and higher dimensional beings are supporting this. Accept nothing less. Everything is being amplified and accelerated. We no longer have the luxury of operating outside of a universal law. The beautiful many in the celestial and higher dimensions are the multidimensional side of the Great Awakening. Never forget, God wins. Look to the heavens. The Divine Feminine. The higher realms consist of those who stepped off the wheel of death and rebirth, are filled with love, joy, bliss, higher wisdom, and operate within universal law. What people call the heavenly realms are not limited to angels and ascended masters. There are whole civilizations of beings who operate from the Christ consciousness or the Buddha consciousness. Let us not forget the house of Mary, Kuan Yin, and many other saints and sages. When referring to the Divine Feminine, it is also understood as the energy of the goddess. There are humankind in the higher realms who are elated, Anunnakis who never fell, Andromedans, Arcturians, the Orion Council of Light, Pleiadians, and host of other civilizations that exist in these higher realms. Some live in a holographic universe. Some have magnetized light bodies and light ships. Some have spiritual or energetic bodies and ships. Some are less physically dense, and all can appear or disappear at will. The multiverse is more vast than any of us can imagine, which only adds to the vastness of the source of all life down the atom itself. It is infinitely large and infinitely small. Opinions. Love is the electromagnetic force that holds creation together. If you can find true love, you will find God, says Poet Dog. The Mars predictions. The planet and humankind will move into the fourth dimension in 7 to 14 days. The great shift of peace and harmony for the planet and humankind will be in the second half of October 2022. Look at 22nd October 2022 as the center of the shift. Moving into the fifth dimension would be at the end of 2024. Weekly report from the Puffiness office. There are things afoot that will upset the citizenry when they find out. They have been very obedient sheep until now, but they need to learn how to critically seek the truth and find release from the ignorance that has been bred into the masses. No longer follow the leader. Become your own leader. It is important for your livelihood and for your mental health. Few know the full operations of the empire. An avoidable recession is looming this winter, according to the Nomad Economist. Several indicators in the economy point to signs a looming unavoidable recession that has been at the center of the financial news of the past few months. As a result, there has been an increase in recession fears around the world. Robert F. Kennedy's quote, in quotes, "A revolution is coming, a revolution that will be peaceful if we are wise enough, compassionate if we care enough, successful if we are fortunate enough. But the revolution is coming, whether we want it or not. We can affect its character. We cannot alter its unavoidability." Americas. Alert on Mexico's North Pacific coast for Tropical Storm K. Storm K becomes a hurricane off Mexico's North Pacific coast. Mexico and the US prepare to negotiate on energy, redesign their trade pact. Peru recognizes the existence of 5 isolated indigenous villages. Peoples more. British Prime Minister Liz Truss determined to defend the occupation of the Falklands. Inflation in Colombia reaches its highest level in 23 years and reaches 10.8%. Bolivia celebrates the good results of its lithium exports. Experts warn of irreversible damage in Bolivia if environmental management is not improved. Bolivia controls a fire on its border with Brazil with the help of a helicopter. Rio's National Museum begins to rise from the ashes 4 years later. Guayaquileños in fear of constant crime and violence in Ecuador. Paraguayan police seize 440 kilos of cocaine destined for Uruguay. The Venezuelan armed forces seized the largest quantity of drugs in the last 10 years. An overwhelming majority rejects Chile's new constitution, and the body calls for a new process. An overwhelming majority rejected the proposed new constitution in Chile on Sunday, with almost 62% of the vote, a result that maintains for the moment the current text, written in 1980 by the Pinochet dictatorship and partially reformed in democracy. In quotes, "The people of Chile have spoken, and they have spoken loud and clear," said Chilean President Gabriel Boric. Causes of failure. After the resounding defeat of the proposed new constitution in Chile in the national plebiscite, the chorus of analysts began pointing mainly to factors: a text that didn't generate consensus and a constitutional convention that didn't convince the people. Europe faces rising energy costs. Europe, the main economic victim of the conflict in Ukraine and sanctions against Russia. Europe's energy crisis was created by political interventionism. Iran offers to supply energy to Europe when sanctions are lifted. Eurozone business activity at 18-month lows. Spain's retail trade shows one of the worst performances in the European Union in July. August marks the highest year-on-year inflation in the Eurozone so far in 2022. Panic grips Europe over the West's rejection of Russian gas. Europe faces an unprecedented rise in civil unrest due to rising inflation and energy costs. Germany attacks its economy in its attempt to sanction Russia. German Economics Minister Habeck says in quotes, we must expect the West, at a press conference on the country's electricity security. 70,000 Czechs take to the streets in protest. Tens of thousands of demonstrators took to the streets of Prague on Saturday in a mass protest against the Czech government. Britain collapses over energy prices. 6 out of 10 British businesses could close because of rising electricity prices. Greenpeace launches rocks weighing hundreds of kilos to fight trolling in the UK. Princess Diana's bodyguard reveals that British royals asked him a month before her death. Turkey's president threatens Greece with sudden military action. More than 400 migrants rescued in Mediterranean waters. The last power line of the Zaporizhzhia plant, which is holding on thanks to the reserve, is damaged. Attempt to blow up Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant fails after inspectors arrive. USA. 20 million US households are behind of their energy bills. OPEC cuts production weeks after the effusive greeting between Biden and the Saudi Crown Prince. Heavy flames ravage Northern California. Northern California fire destroys 100 homes and other property. California declares a level 1 grid emergency, urges consumers to reduce their electricity use to avoid blackouts. 6th day without drinking water in Jackson, the capital of Mississippi. The Internal Revenue Service mistakenly releases confidential information of 120,000 taxpayers. 8 migrants die while trying to cross the Rio Grande. The disappearance of dozens of unaccompanied migrant children raises alarm in Houston. CNN staff purge. CNN employers are spooked that the company's new CEO, Chris Licht, is orchestrating staff purge after Brian Shelter and John Harwood announced their abrupt departures, according to the Washington Post. NBC considers drastic measures due to its declining popularity. Investigative journalist brutally murdered outside his home. Mel Gibson was one of the first to expose the occult among Hollywood's elite, and now he's making a film about the Rothschilds. Famous actress Jane Fonda reveals she has a cancer affecting her lymphatic system. Donald Trump wins the first round. The investigation against him takes an unexpected turn. A judge grants Trump's request for an expert to review records seized by the FBI. More than 50 administration employees and 12 agencies implicated in social media censorship. Elon Musk criticizes the newly released Lord of the Rings of Power series. A crypto investor withdraws $96 million in bitcoins that grew 29-fold in 9 years. China. A powerful 6.8 earthquake strikes China's Sichuan province. The Peruvian government expresses its solidarity with China over the earthquake. Venezuela expresses solidarity with China over earthquake victims in Sichuan. China does not support limiting the price of Russian oil as proposed by the G7. China issues another warning on military interactions with Taiwan. An unidentified commercial drone entered restricted airspace over Lion Island off the coast of China on Thursday and was shot down by Taiwan after warnings were ignored. China showcases supersonic drone capable of up to 3,700 kilometers per hour. It can destroy F-22 Raptor and F-35 Lightning II fighters. US approves $1 billion arms sale to Taiwan. Weapons. Taiwan to buy $1.1 billion worth of anti-ship and air-to-air missiles from the US. Iran seizes and releases 2 US drones in the Red Sea. Iran wants to buy Sukhoi Su-35 fighters from Russia. Iraq announces the discovery of 9 oil and gas fields in the Anbar region. The United Arab Emirates are building a tourist area in the Kurdistan region. War actions between the Sahrawi and Moroccan armies. Morocco suffers a diplomatic defeat at the summit between Japan and the African Union. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.